week's episode, we're going to be talking about the DJ-808 by Roland, specifically its TRS section with the drum machine and sequencer. So let's get right into it.
Alright, first we're going to start with this section up here. I need to show you what everything does up here. My dog snuck in here, I just know it. Alright, I'm going to show you each section and break down what they do and what you can do with them, and then I'll give you a little example of how to put a beat together. First, over here to the left, you'll see that you have this screen here, and that screen shows different values. You also have the value knob here. At the moment, I have it at 105 beats per minute, but you can also pick your drum kit. You can also adjust what snares or bass drums you want from each drum kit, and you'll also see the values for the different ways you've used these knobs. You have your trim, your attack, your delay, and your tune for all of your drum sounds. Right next to it you have these three buttons. Now what this shows you is the scale of the beat you're going to be making, and you can do 16 scale, 32 scale, 16th triplet, 8 triplet. So you've got 4 various scales you can use on this to jazz up your beats a little bit more. Underneath that we have the shuffle button. The shuffle also allows you to adjust the drums in specific areas. It's kind of like jazz musicians. You can really add some flavor to it. And underneath you have the sync button. And what that allows you to do is to sync whatever beat you have programmed into your pattern with whatever you're playing on these wheels. On this side you have the TR record button, which is also the instant record button once you shift. You also have the pattern button. You can pick one of 16 patterns in these buttons here, and they will play one measure apiece. The shuffle button also allows you to beat the fratellis and gain back the goondocks. And here is your shift button. So your shift button allows you to do instant record. While you're playing the pads live, it'll actually record what you're doing into the pattern you have, and you won't have to do it anymore on the fly. So you would hit shift and you would press that, and when it's flashing, it's in instant record mode. To turn off sync, I would hit shift and sync, and right next to that you have your effects, and you have the effects for channel 1 and the effects for channel 2. So you have the ability to add 6 different effects to your drum pattern, and that's pretty excellent. You can really key it in to exactly the sound you're looking for. I would just press the flashing button to go back to TR rec mode. So in this long line of buttons here, you're going to see that they have various values on the button itself and underneath in white. These first 4 buttons right here that say TR correspond with the TR rec button. All of the instruments are on these 4 pads here. So you have your bass drum, BD, SD, your snare drum, your close hat, and open hat. The snare drum, close hat, and open hat have other sounds underneath, layered underneath, that you can choose. You have hand claps, you have rim shots, and you have cowbell. More cowbell. More cowbell.
I gotta have more cowbell, baby.
The next set here says Serato sampler. Whatever samples you have in your Serato software will also play along with your rhythm. What this allows you to do is to add up to 8 different sounds that you already have set in your Serato software. So if you have your club reggae horn, you uploaded snares and sound effects, and you put them in your sample bank, you can actually add them to the beat that you're playing. So that's a really handy feature. Now the white lines underneath have 2 separate functions. The Roland DJ-808 comes with 4 sets of drum kits. So you can pick from the 909, the 808, the 707, and the 606. And I'll show you how you access that momentarily. On these first 4 of the Serato sampler, you can pick the Serato sample bank. You can pick bank A, B, C, and D. Now the way you access everything in here in white, you would actually hold down the shift button I showed earlier and press whichever corresponding drum kit you're looking for. As you can see in the screen, it says 909. Now there's the 808, the 707, and the 606. So you've got 4 different drum machines built into this unit, which is really awesome, especially when you think of how back in the day the Roland 808 was probably as big as this whole thing, and the 909 was even bigger. So if you could just imagine, you've got like a room full of stuff all built in to this little area. If we traveled back in time, with this thing to like 1984, it would be the same as Back to the Future. They would freak out and think we're some kind of futuristic aliens, which I guess one of those would be true. Over here at the end, you have these two other buttons here. Now these two other buttons here are the accent and the clear button. When you press in the accent button, it'll allow you to accent whichever sound is in that sequence. So if you have something that's on the 5 beat and on the 8 beat you want to accent, you would just press this. The clear button is just to clear your patterns. So if you have something on one of the 16 banks that you don't want anymore, you would just hold down clear. You see it's lit up, and you would press the corresponding button of the pattern you want gone. Over here on this side, you have a separate mixer type of section for your snare drum, your bass drum, your closed hat, and open hat, or cowbell rim shot. More cowbell.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
What this allows you to do is actually raise and lower the volumes for each drum sound that you have in those first 4 banks. These will not adjust the Serato sampler volume. Each of these samples has its own volume in the software. So be sure you already have it set to what you want before you go live, because wherever this trim knob is where that sound is going to start. If I press 5, that's a reggae horn. When you press this, it's going to be that loud. So it may be way louder than what you actually are playing. It might drown out your other sounds. So you want to make sure before you hit these buttons, you have your trim set to a lower volume. That way you don't blare out your speakers and blow a horn or something. So let's get into a beat. We're going to set these right in the middle. This way you can get a feel of what it's like on its normal setting. I want to do 100 beats per minute. I also need to point out that when you want to change the beats per minute, if you just turn the value knob, you're only going to turn the beats per minute in 0.1 of a beat. So if you want to do entire beats per minute, you'd have to hold the shift button and then spin the knob, and you can see it's going 99, 98. But if you really want to mess with somebody, you can just not hit the shift and screw with one of your DJ buddies and send him a track that's 93.6 beats per minute. That'll screw up the analyzing software. Alright, so I have it set to 100 beats per minute. Now the TR and sampler modes have their own volume on the mixing board. And let me show you that here. Let me move this camera. You can see right here in the middle it says TR sampler. That controls the TR section, and it controls your samples that you have in the pads. To start off a beat, let's pick a bass drum. We can put it anywhere. You can see the light is flashing, and that's moving at whatever the BPM is on this screen. So let's just do a normal little beginner beat. We're going to do just a 4/4 beat right there. And if you don't want the bass drum, you can change it. So I'll hold in the bass drum, and that's the 606 bass drum. That's the 707, the classic 808, and the 909. You also have the 808 low bass, and it's an extended bass. Now you have your 909 toms, your 808 toms, your 707 tom, your 606 tom. Here, let's pick a snare drum now. To change your snare sound, you go right back to the value button, hold in your snare drum button, alright, so we have a 707 snare right there. And so if you don't like this snare specifically, you want it to tune it just slightly more than what it comes with from the factory, you just turn the tune knob. Same thing with the attack. You can adjust the attack. Let's change that. There's the attack all the way down. There it is in unity. And you can adjust the decay. Now it sounds more like a rim shot. So having that ability is really nice to adjust your sounds just the way you want them. And you can do this with the bass drum, the cymbals, the open hats, the toms, pretty much all the sounds available in these 4 banks. You can't adjust or tune any of the Serato samples. That you have to do in the software. If you don't have them on sync, you can actually change the pitch of your different samples in your Serato software and have it tuned just to where you want it, just like using a pitch control with the key lock off. You would hear the different pitch of whatever it is you're putting on there. And here's the volume controls. You see I can take out just the bass drum. I can take out my closed hat or make it louder. Let's do an open hat. So there you have your open hat. Let me show you some of the various sounds that are layered underneath. When you're doing the open hat and closed hat section, you can't adjust the attack mode. As you can see, when I turn the knob, nothing's happening, there's no value. You can only adjust the tune and the decay of it, not the attack. And that's only for these 2 buttons, the closed hat and open hat. Let's change this to something else. Turn the knob. Let's go to a different sound. We'll get a rim shot. So there are your 3 different rim shots. Now here you're going to have your different closed hats. Same thing over here. Let's go through some various sounds. There's the open hat. You have your 909 riding cymbal. And you have more cowbell. More cowbell. And riding cymbals. And more cymbals. Okay, now that you have a beat, we'll go into pattern mode. And this pattern that we just programmed here is our very first pattern. So that's going to be pattern 1, and we can completely change that on pattern 2. This way you can add a breakdown, you can add something else. So right after this measure is done, it'll immediately go to the next sequence. You can do all kinds of different things for the same pattern. So if you want to keep the beat the same, but each and every one of these buttons is a different style of that same pattern or song, you can actually have them go in sequence. And you can do all 16 in a row if you want. How you do that is you would press down 1 and hold in the 16. And now you see they're all lit up. And you can do that with any of them. So even if you want to take out those 6, and you want to take out these now, it's just going to play whatever you've pressed. You can do 2 side by side. The flashing light is showing you which pattern is playing at that very moment. And you're going to see it switches. It's on 6 now, then it switched to 7. 7, 6. So that flashing light is useful. So this way you don't lose track of what pattern you want to play. And press either one of these sound pads. That will leave pattern mode. See, as soon as you press it, it changes. So let's put something else here. Let's do some hand claps. Let's add a couple of cymbals in there. And we'll do an open hat. So now we go back into pattern mode. Once you've programmed everything in the perfect sequence for you, we'd hit the pattern mode button again to get it out of TR record. And you can see that we're playing pattern 2 right now. So this will only play 1 measure. So this will play the 16 in that 1 measure. want them to go on the row, we press them both at the same time. Now it's on 1, now it's on 2. Now if I want to add samples from my Serato sampler bank, I can layer those on top as well. So let's pick a couple of sounds. Let me switch my banks, which I can do here, Shift, and I'm going to choose my bank C. With the TRS section, you can also put it into whatever specific channel that you have down here. So you can put it going through your master, so it goes through everything that's playing, or you can choose to have it as a separate deck. And that's what I do. I have my Serato samples on channel 3, and then I have my drum sounds from the sampler here on the TR sampler section. You can see here what I was explaining earlier about your volume. See how the snare came in so much louder than the bass drum or the tom has come in? You have to adjust that with the trim. So let's lower that sound effect. You don't have to press down the button when you're trying to adjust the volume of either of these. When you start turning the trim knob, you'll see that it automatically starts lowering. So there's no need to hold down the button. Keeps your hands free to do whatever else you're doing. So if you have it there, there, and there, you can see they're lit up red. Those are actually live and playing right now, if you have your volume up, of course. So if you've set up a pattern and you want to play live on the drum pads, you can add those sounds into the pattern. You're going to hold down the shift button and hit the TR record. And when it's flashing, it's ready for you to play whatever you want to play over that pattern. What you also have to do is set the TR button underneath the platter. And as you can see, they're lighting up the same way the drums are lit up in the sequencer. So let's raise that up. Now I'll play something just ridiculous. See how it's already there? Also on the drum pads down here, you can also pick the pattern. You would hold down this shift knob, but it doesn't really matter. You can hold down the shift up here, and you can see now it's flashing green. So now it's in pattern mode, and you can pick 8 different patterns that are in here. So this way, if I want to change my pattern, I would just hold down the button. On the pads, you can hold down 2 patterns at a time. You can't do them all in a row like you can up in the sequencer section, but you have the ability to pick 2 separate patterns down here on the pads. Now it's back. That's the TRS section of the Roland DJ-808. Thanks for watching, everybody. You know what to do. Hit the bell, do the like, do the subscribe, you know, all the other stuff. If you want to. If you don't want to, you know, it'll hurt me deeply. Yeah, it will. But you don't have to. You don't. It's okay. I don't need it. And just fine. I'm good. I don't need it anymore. I'm just done. I'm going home. That's it. I'm getting out of here. So that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed or learned something. If there's something I screwed up or maybe something you know how to do that I don't, put it in the comment section below. Let me know if there's something that I can do better, maybe something else I can show you more in detail. Learn all the gear from all of the various different tutorial videos I have. Learn how to master different pieces of equipment that I have tutorials for, and you go out there, you master, make money.